Alright, what is up guys? I'm going to prepare for a front-end developer role for a company called Smart Plan AI. And I'm going to show you an interesting way to do this. You don't have to be the normal, do the normal thing where you're just reading and memorizing things. You can literally interact with an interviewing assistant and prepare 100 times better than a normal preparation for an interview. Alright, let's dive in. Right, let's do a screening call, and yeah, let's get going.
Specifics of the role. I'd love to hear a bit more about your recent project at Scale AI, especially your work on model alignment for ChatGPT and Google's Gemini.
Yeah, so basically at Scale, one of the things we did was we helped align the models, implemented best practices on prompting, ran scripts and tested code quality on the models and the prompts, yeah, so it was a lot of work on RLHF especially, as well as other kinds of interesting things in terms of keeping models looking for edge cases and all these things. So yeah, it was a good time.
That sounds quite comprehensive and challenging. It's impressive how you managed to handle both the technical aspects and quality assurance of AI models. Transitioning from that, could you share how you approached a situation where you had to manage conflicting requirements or priorities while working on these projects?
Yeah, so one of the things we did when managing conflicting priorities was basically outlining, saying, hey, these are the priorities for this group and this viewpoint, these are the priorities for this group and this viewpoint. Basically go step by step and see, hey, who do we go with at the end of the day? So yeah.
It sounds like you implemented a structured approach to manage different stakeholders' priorities effectively. Given your experience in both AI and front-end development, how would you leverage your technical skills to improve the front-end performance and engagement of our platform here at Smart Plan AI?
Yeah, one thing I would do is optimize the code. So for example, load times can be low because of latency. Maybe you can use some server-side rendering for better quality. You could optimize how the JavaScript loads.
That's a great strategy.
Yeah.
Server-side rendering can indeed improve the initial load time and enhance the overall user experience. Could you elaborate on how you've implemented server-side rendering in any of your past projects, particularly how it benefited the end user experience?
Yeah, so another project used Next.js, and it really helped with server-side rendering. It helps just with speed and load time, but obviously you can use things such as sort of caching and all these kinds of techniques to minimize load time. Yeah, so nothing too complicated there. It's
Utilizing Next.js is a solid choice to leverage server-side rendering for faster load times. Can you share some specific techniques you've used to further minimize load time and enhance performance on the front end?
Yeah, so one other thing we did was we basically, one thing we did actually in our application was increase the load on a server capacity load, and that actually led to a decrease in latency, funny enough. So that's one thing you can do. Greater server capacity allows for greater overall ability to load faster, as well as more functions to be executed better, because obviously you're not overloading the server with limited memory capacity. So yeah, that's one thing.
Increasing server capacity is indeed an effective way to handle higher loads and reduce latency. Regarding your technical skills in React and the other technologies you've worked with, could you describe an innovative way you've used these tools in your projects to solve a specific problem?
Yeah, so using React, it's basically a front-end framework. So most of the front ends are built in React. And yeah, it's just a great technology built by Meta. And yeah, so by the way, Meta is doing some free speech stuff.
Definitely.
So
React's component-based architecture can streamline UI development. Considering your expertise, can you share an example of a particularly complex component you've developed in React and the challenges you faced while building it? How did you overcome these challenges?
yeah, so one thing we built was a very complex web application utilizing AI. So a lot of components in it, a lot of architectural complexities, connecting making API calls, all that kind of stuff. So super.
Combining AI with React sounds fascinating. Can you delve a bit deeper into how you integrated AI functionalities within the React framework? What were some of the architectural complexities you encountered, and how did you address them to ensure seamless performance and user interaction?
Yeah, so it was pretty complex at times, and so one thing we did was we made sure to segment the code properly. So we have hey, this API call is made in this file, and making sure you can recall the same functions and components, and reducing lines of code rather than adding them. That's the key. You want to always be minimizing how much code you write, because that means you have a more efficient system at the end of the day. So
that's a solid approach. Minimizing code and reusing components not only improves efficiency, but also enhances maintainability. Switching focus a bit, can you describe a challenging scenario where you had to make a critical decision without all the necessary information and how you handled it?
All the time. You always have to, especially at a startup, you always have to figure out, you always have to make the best guess at the end of the day. You obviously have some data and but at the end of the day, you have to almost use that as a starting point, but just launch and just see what happens. So all the time, actually.
It's impressive how you handle uncertainties with an agile approach, launching with what you have and iterating based on feedback. As we wrap up, do you have any questions about the role or the company that I can answer for you?
No, that was very comprehensive. Thank you.
The interview has concluded.